3 men with stockings over their heads burst right into a bus filled with children. The driver is petrified. Inside are 26 students. They are all like family to Ed. He's been driving them for years, and now they're in grave danger. Ed tries to talk to one of the bad guys, but he just orders Ed to get out of the driver's seat. After driving a few miles, Ed and the children are forced into 2 vans with painted windows. The creeps drive them to an unknown destination. It's a long 11-hour trip with no water, no food, and no stops along the way. Suddenly, the vans go off the road and come to a stop. What happens next will become one of the biggest crimes in U.S. history. The perpetrators order everyone out of the vans one by one. They ask each child their name and hang a tag on them. Ed is shocked. He realizes that they have been brought to the quarry, away from people. What do they want to do with these innocent children and good-hearted Ed? A small truck buried 12 feet underground is waiting for them. The poor children are forced to climb inside through a small hole in the roof. The horror of the situation has now reached even the youngest. Ed tries his best to calm the children down and asks them to do whatever the perpetrators want them to. He realizes that one wrong move could lead to a disaster. They find themselves inside an old van stocked with a small amount of food and water and some mattresses. Ed hears chunks of earth falling on top of the van roof. The kids are scared. They start screaming and crying. But Ed refuses to panic. He is responsible for the lives of these children. He decides to try and dig a hole in the roof, which has been covered with a heavy metal sheet. But it turns out that the sheet isn't just covered with earth and debris. It is also covered with 2 100-pound industrial batteries. There seems to be no way out. Meanwhile, in Chowchilla and throughout the state, a search starts for the missing kids. The empty school bus is found, hidden under bamboo branches. But apart from the van's tire tread, the police find no other clues. The children's parents are horrified. 27 people have disappeared without a trace, and there is no ransom from their captors. Did the snatchers just want to get rid of the children and Ed in a brutal way? It's getting stuffy in the van. The children's cries put even more pressure on Ed. The roof is starting to cave in. It's about to collapse. Ed is filled with hopelessness. He can't do it. He can't keep the children safe. But then, something special happens. Michael Marshall, a 14-year-old boy, doesn't share everyone's doom. He firmly states that he doesn't want to give up without trying to get out. His words are exactly what the others need to hear. Ed pulls himself together and tries to think of a new plan. They will make the second attempt to get out together. Ed and the students pile up mattresses and make supports out of wood paneling. This will help push the batteries and possibly move them. After a couple of hours of working, several lumps of earth fall from above into the van. Ed and the children manage to move the batteries and open the door to freedom. But it's too dangerous to climb out. The snatchers may be outside. The hole in the roof is too small for Ed. Only a child can fit through it. One of the older boys takes the risk. Ed gives him a lift, and the boy climbs out. After a few minutes of tension, Michael Marshall reports back that the perpetrators are not around. Ed quickly helps the kids out of the van. He has no idea where the snatchers are and knows they could return at any time. Scratched but still alive, they make it out of the underground 16 hours after they were pushed into the buried truck. Exhausted Ed and the confused children look around. Where should they go next? And will they be able to avoid running into their captors? After wandering around the quarry for a long time, Ed and the children reach a cabin. There is an unknown man inside. Could he be one of their captors? Or their accomplice? The man turns out to be the quarry guard. He is shocked by Ed's story and immediately calls the police. Exhausted, the children return to their parents amid the bright flashes of reporters' cameras. The community is horror-struck by what has happened to them. Who dared to do such an atrocity? What was it all about? Ed is deep in the investigation, trying to help the police. Getting even with the creeps who did all this to him and the children is his personal goal now. Ed manages to remember the license plates of one of the vans. The officers find that it is registered to a local silver spooner, Frederick Woods. He turns out to be the son of the quarry owner. When searching the home of Fred Woods' father, the police find a treasure trove of evidence: a snatching plan, a list of children, and a ransom demand of $5 million. Woods and his accomplices, James and Richard Schoenfeld, are caught 2 weeks after the snatching. They are all from wealthy families, but have personal financial problems. So they hatch this terrible plan. It turned out that the men were unable to call the police to demand a ransom because the Chowchilla Police Department phone lines were jammed. The media and the children's families were all trying to reach the department. All 3 perpetrators are given 20 years in prison. The grateful students always remembered Ed and how he saved their lives. Every year on February 26, Chowchilla celebrates Edward Ray Day. Ed passed away in 2012, but the memory of the ordinary man who became a hero is eternal. Heroes live here among us.